Whenever you're ready. She's doing her magic.
Mhm. All right, you should be all set to go.
Oh, thanks, Kaylee. Good evening and welcome to the October meeting of the Northborough Conservation Commission. My name is Greg Young. I'm the current chair of the commission. And this open meeting of the Northborough Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Healy's executive order of March 29th, 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. All members of the Northborough Conservation Commission are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the Northborough Conservation Commission to meet entirely remotely, so long as a reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using a posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Dan Clark.
Here.
Justin Dufresne.
Here.
Todd Helwig.
Here.
Very good. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Vincent Fignali.
Here.
Kaylee Olson.
Here.
Great. Some business ground rules. For presenters and/or applicants listed on the agenda, the chair will invite each speaker or applicant on the agenda by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold until their name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait until the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Speakers who wish to respond to the comments of others do so through the chair, taking care to identify themselves. Each vote taken by the commission will be conducted by roll call vote. For items of public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. By phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Please note that part of your phone number will be visible to those viewing the meeting. By Zoom, click Raise Hand on the bottom of your screen and wait to be recognized. The chair will ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once the chair has a list of all public commentators, the chair will call on each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. A reminder that this meeting is being recorded and will be available for viewing via the Northborough Remote Meetings tab on the town's website. Justin, all you.
All right. The meeting will include the following hearings pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, the Northborough Wetland Protections Bylaw, and/or the Northborough Stormwater Management and Land Disturbance Bylaw. A notice of intent for 127 Bartlett Street, map 52, parcel 97, owned by Eugene O. Kim, 21 Family Trust, Linda Kim trustee, to replace a failed septic system. Work is proposed within the outer riverfront area outside of the 100-foot wetland buffer zone. A request for determination of applicability for 325 Church Street, map 43, parcel 16, owned by Joseph and June Wyke, to replace a failed septic system. Work is proposed within the 100-foot wetland buffer zone. And finally, a request for determination of applicability, 7D Pondview Way, map 30, parcel 32, owned by Pondview Way Condominium Trust, Karen Weber, trustee, to cut down 2 potentially dangerous trees in the wetland to the ground. The work is proposed within the bordering vegetated wetland, the 25-foot no disturb zone, and the 100-foot buffer zone.
Great. Thanks, Justin.
Yep.
Before we jump into the meeting minutes and the guts of the agenda, I want to talk briefly about our missing 2 members, Diane Gouldner and Tom Beals. As you know, Diane has decided to resign from the commission effective early September, Vinny, right? And to move closer to her daughter. Diane was on the commission when I joined it, and she and I certainly, she's she had her own perspective on certain things. She's a great outdoors person. She was the birding expert in the commission. We went on many site walks together. I pulled her out of Nicey Pond more than once. So I will miss Diane and what she brought to the commission. Tom Beals, again, Tom passed away a month ago today. He was on the commission when I joined, and he also helped me quite a bit understand certain parts of the whole deal. Tom was an interesting guy. You always knew where Tom was coming from, right? There was never any ambiguity about what he thought about. He was a forest. He liked the forest. He was a hunter, brought that perspective, and he was a local kid, and that brought his perspective also. So we'll miss them both, and we cannot replace them, but we can try and fill those spots in. So, meeting minutes. September 9th meeting minutes. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Nope.
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 Now, this is a spot we missed Diana because she'd have like page 4. There was a paragraph, there was a comma missing behind this and that. So, is there a second?
Second.
Second. Roll call vote. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Meeting minutes are approved. I don't know if anybody, before we jump in the first, I don't know if anybody went to Tom's services or Tom's visiting hours, but there was a display of all the things he had shot and stuffed.
Wow.
There was a wildcat, right, Benny? There was a wildcat there, I
Yep.
think, and there was a
Bobcat, yep.
bobcat, raccoon,
Yep. An antler from the moose, good size moose,
yeah.
and his tractor was out front. It was
The
not
tractor was out front.
nice
Very,
display.
very cool. Very cool.
1940s, I think, Ford.
Did it run?
I think so, but not function. I think it sputtered.
Yeah. Okay. Continuation. Notice of intent, 289 Lyman Street. DCAM. We got some people here. Let's see. I believe we got John Kent. Can I bring you in, John? Kenan Sanderson. Can I bring you in?
Gary DeBlois.
Susan Rooch. You're coming in. Gary DeBlois. All right. John Cates. I already got you now. All right. Let's see what happens there.
Is John Cates of our team in the
John Ca-
waiting room?
Yes.
John Cates. Okay, we'll try one more time. I think we're good. Okay, I think the gang's all here, Susan, yes?
I think so. Hand it right over to
Alright.
Gary, if you're good with that, Chair Young.
Yes, let's go ahead and see if we can get this wrapped up if possible.
That is that's the hope here and the goal. So no presentation file to share this time. I think everyone is familiar with the project. Just want to, in case I forgot, introduce ourselves. My name is Gary DeBlois with Vertex, with the site engineer on the project. I'm joined here by John Kent, Susan Rook, Ken Sanderson, and John Cates, all from DCAM. As of the last meeting, we had responded to Vinny's comments, first round of comments on the project. He had not had a chance to fully review and vet those responses. Since then, he has provided an initial round of new comments based on our submission at that time. Actually, 2 rounds of comments. One initial, and then we would provide a response, and then an additional one earlier today. Most of them were minor revisions, small technical things, or just some preferences. I know one was we added landscape boulders approximately around the 35-foot buffer of the isolated vegetated wetland, just to discourage any mowing in that area when it's maintained in the future. So that way nobody accidentally mows through the enhanced wetland that we put together. A few of the comments that I wanted to make sure we touched on here. One was that DCAM had submitted over the course of the last month all of the paperwork showing that the observed soil staining on site has been cleaned up. The material was tested and disposed of accordingly since then, and they've submitted that documentation to Vinny. Also, there was one comment that I misunderstood at first regarding the work by Pulte on the behalf of the town of Westboro and the drain line that they are running through the property.
Mhm.
Initially, when I read the comment, I thought it was referring to where their riprap and their outlet is, which is outside of our limit of disturbance. But in going back and forth a bit with Vinny, I realized that what he was actually speaking of is the cover over the pipe and the grading that they'll be doing associated with it. Our response today to Vinny was that we don't currently have as-built plans for their grading. So we are submitting these plans with the note that our final grading will be adjusted based on the final grading over that pipe, with the concept that we will maintain positive drainage to the isolated wetland and maintain that minimum cover over the pipe. We have no problem with their revisions to the grading. We just weren't going to do that on its own because there was no need to bring more fill into the site. So that would be our approach to grading in that area. Those are all the agent review comments that we specifically wanted to run through before jumping into the review of the standard conditions that were provided following last month's meeting, as well as a few specific conditions that Vinny was looking to recommend. And on any of the items that I've touched on already, were there any thoughts or comments from anyone?
I have none. I'm waiting to hear Vinny. Any commissioners have comments or questions at this point?
Nope.
Vinny?
I've gone through it and we're just about there. I think the report that came in was really what I was looking for. There might have been some confusion on my explanation. It is what I was looking for. They showed a plan where they pulled, I think it was 74 areas. They scratched up soil from 74 different stained areas and packaged it and sent it off. And we'll get the results eventually. But we got something from the company Trident. Their cover letter basically said that they looked and they scratched away all the areas that were visible, and that was the concern, that someone with experience went out there, looked, and actually did the work to clean it up. So I think that addresses the issue once we get the final bill of ladings or whatever it's called to say that it's been deposited where it belongs. We're all set.
Anything else, Vinny? Everything else that they've
No, I've
provided?
got just some minor things, access to get down to the basins, and Gary's been good about making those adjustments. We had a question about the outlet structures for the basins, and I think you're going to address that. I haven't looked at the plans you sent over at 5. I was trying to get other stuff ready for the other hearing. Sorry.
Completely
Yeah,
understandable.
Yeah, we appreciate that. You're trying to get us your last comments so we, can hopefully wrap it up. Would it be helpful if Gary goes through each of those 5 points and how he addressed them?
No, I guess if there are questions from the commission that there were issues that they remember or have about the site. The other thing that Gary mentioned was the idea of showing the drain pipe. That was more when we were out there. We know you can see that the drain pipe work is occurring now, and just having where that location is on your proposed plan gives some orientation to the commissioners when they go out and drive by a site, so they know where things are going to be going. But we should have that covered on this next set, Gary, right?
Yeah, that is included with the
It is on that.
revised plans that were sent to you at 5 o'clock, plus or minus a few minutes.
That's all right.
And I think, Vinny, if this is correct, I think Pulte and the town of, the other town, that they submitted a report on Friday showing the area that actually is on the DCAM property, and they've already installed that pipe, covered it, and seeded it.
Yes, yeah, I got 3 of their reports, so
Yeah.
they're doing a good job. Everything looks good right there. Now we just need some rain to have the water flowing.
Yes, we do. Agree.
I look at, excuse me, I look at last month's meeting minutes. Vinny indicated back then there were 4 items that need to be closed for us to move forward. 2 of them are done. One is the clarification of sovereign immunity. Another one's a beaver control restoration plan. We moved on from those, I believe, last month based on the minutes here, which leaves 2 items open: review submittal package and certification that the removal of the stained soil doesn't provide any environmental risks. Those 2 items. That seem right, Vinny?
Yes, and those have been completed.
The review of this middle package and the certification?
Yes, there's the final review, but I've reviewed Gary's proposals or his recommendations and changes made to his plan, and there were just like 3 or 4 minor edits that need to be done, and then we're good.
Okay. Can we move ahead with those edits being in process? I don't want to kick this out 30 more days. We don't have to.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, I think as far as the plan stuff, I think that's good. There were some questions or comments on the proposed conditions. So I'm good with the plans, and I think I'm pretty much okay with the conditions, but if anyone had questions or concerns, we could address those now.
Okay. Are there
Okay,
special conditions? The ones that you put in there? You were going to send Susan the boilerplate, right?
Yes, I did. And she came back, she sent something back, or Ken sent something back to me, I think yesterday, or, well, I guess, where am I? Thursday or Friday. So I looked at those, and it's just pulling out all the references to our local bylaw, which if they're withdrawing under the land disturbance bylaw, then that's fine. I did keep in some conditions there that fall under the construction general permit, the EPA requirements. So it's nothing new that they have to do for us, but it's just documenting what they're going to already be having to do for the construction general permit. So that was one of the conditions that I had in there. And then there was a couple of the others with the soil tests have not been done in the area where there's infiltration occurring. So we'll have a standard condition that we've used in the past, but we want to get the wording right. Gary and I were looking at it. Did you give a rewording to that, Gary?
Yes, I did. And
Do you have that?
I do, if I just tab through a couple documents here. Just one moment. Sorry.
That's all right.
I got them all open to prep, but then you got to sort through them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, all I had asked is that your sentence for that was, following the test pits being excavated. If conditions are found to differ from the design assumptions, no work shall occur at the site until a new stormwater treatment system is designed and approved by the commission. I requested that be revised to state, if subsurface conditions are observed, which make the proposed/approved design no longer viable per the requirements of the Mass Stormwater Handbook, the modifications to the stormwater treatment system shall be designed and approved by the commission prior to construction of the system.
Yeah, I think we agree on the intent. So does the commission agree with that? I see Justin nodding, so it didn't just go over his head. That's good.
Sorry, it's probably annoying to listen to
That's
those lines be read out sometimes.
right,
Okay.
so and
were
then the
there any
other ones,
no more changes? Oh, sorry, Vita, go ahead. I was going to ask about the same question you were. Any more changes to the standard conditions that they wanted?
well, we were going to have additional conditions, provide documentation before the concrete slab is constructed, that the proposed trailer operation complies with the state sanitary code. So It's something that we don't usually have to deal with, but they're proposing an office trailer. If they
Right.
need to put in a septic system for it, that may raise the elevation of the parking lot. So we want to just make sure that we don't have to have changes associated with that. They don't have it done now, and I'm not sure that anything's going to happen in the near future. There was emails back and forth with the DEP relative to this, and I think they're still in that process. So I propose to just put in a condition that they just have to send the documentation to us that it's in compliance with this Title V.
So one just question on that, Vinny, and Greg as well. If the intent with that condition is that if there are major changes to the site design, that we would need to come before the commission again, I 100% get that, but I think that's typically one of the standard conditions, right? Like if for any reason or if there was any major change to our site design, we would need to come before the commission regardless of what the specific change was. Is that correct? And wouldn't that fall under the same thing?
Yes, that's correct. And it would fall under that, but this one is a situation where I'm aware that some people who have dropped off vehicles have wandered out back because there is no porta-john, there's no sanitary facilities, so they wander out back and they have defecated in the buffer to the wetlands. So in those situations, I don't want that to occur. So there needs to be some kind of sanitary facilities if there's going to be someone working there. That's really my push. So that was one of the conditions. And then what was the other one?
Can we pause? I thought Ken was going to be adding something, or Gary might be saying something more. So, you know, Ken, was that you?
Yeah, I can respond. So the concrete slab that we're referring to is in Westboro, and it's more than 35 feet from the town line, and then it's in more than 150 feet from all resource areas, including the isolated vegetated wetlands. And so we've thought about this, and with regard to the facility, it's going to be a fenced facility, and it's going to have security in place. And with that said, anybody who's visiting the site will be within the boundaries of the fence and wouldn't have access to any areas outside of that. So that was what I wanted to indicate.
Yeah, there wouldn't be a clear, walking path out into the woods, into the resource areas. If that, there'd be security cameras, and they'd have to jump a fence, which I think would discourage that approach.
And Vinny, wouldn't the concern be covered by Gary's earlier comment that it really is a focus on a standard terms and conditions or standard requirement that any change to the site plan driven by anything is going to require a revisit?
Yeah, yes, that would be covered. And the fence I didn't really consider the fence because that is going to limit the access. The concern is though, just making sure that it complies with Title V, which I think the DEP is now, they're aware of. They're kind of following through on that because I know over the last 20 years, it's kind of fallen through the cracks as supposedly a temporary office trailer, but it didn't meet the standards. So I think the DEP will work on that, and it's gone beyond us.
So I would like to add to that if I can, Agent Vignali. So we DCAM, we had a call together with Gary with DEP some time ago. And, unfortunately with this latest communication, closing the loop back up with them and kind of refreshing recollections, what they told us at the time, with only having a single employee and occasional visitor to use a toilet facility, that there would not be enough flow in the system to support a standard septic leach field. You're talking one person, 37.5 hours a week and an occasional visitor. We'd also talked with them, could there be a possibility of having a tank and pumping that all the way to a sewer connection down the street? And the cost of that would, really be significantly out of proportion with the cost for this whole improvement project to improve the current OVM lot. So we are going to be working through, but we don't believe we're going to have, quote, a Title V system. We believe we'll have a system, and we will only have a system that comports with what's required. We believe that could be a porta-john or something, but it will only be that if we get approval to do that. So that is part of our concern. As Ken is saying, we think you can approve this project today, and we'll be happy to keep Vinny apprised of conversations as they go on, even though the porta-john and the office part is on the other town's portion of the project. But we don't think that this is something that should stand in the way of approval of the project going forward. I don't know if that's helpful or if you have questions about that.
No, I thought we were going to go moving forward anyway. So I'm not sure if the commission had any other questions about that.
I have none. Any other commissioners have? No? Okay. What else?
And that was it. That was it. Yep.
Let me see if we have any attendees with hands up. I don't see anybody. No public comments are being requested.
Oh, actually, is there just the only note that I had an abutter call, actually two abutters call, and I just wanted to make note at the public hearing that they have removed the canopies with the solar power or solar generators on them, and now it's just going to be a straight parking lot, paved and lined parking lot. Is that we're still going with that, Gary?
Yeah, and National, I think there were some things behind the scenes with National Grid that made it not feasible to put in the solar canopies during construction.
Okay.
There
Yeah,
were
and
a couple
I
more.
think-
Oops, go ahead, Susan. Sorry.
I think that they are being required by other entities to look at the whole sort of that section of the power grid. John Ken, I don't know if you want to speak to that, but that until that study's done, we wouldn't be able to put solar in at this location. So it's due to a development beyond our control.
That can always be something after the fact too.
Yes, and the abutters were happy about that as well. To not have it. So,
not having solar. Okay.
yes. Yep. So that was. And
all right,
then
so-
the lighting, I told them the lighting, it's just going to be security lighting, correct? It's kind of most of the time it's going to be just security lighting. And then there were no big issues with, you don't need lighting like a parking lot where people are going to be wandering around at night.
No, it was strictly for security purposes in the evening, and it's all downward facing lighting.
Okay.
That's what I was going to bring up, Gary. I remember we had abutters on one time. That question came up. I think the answer you just gave was it's downward facing lighting. It's not going to be Fenway Park, right? So it's going to be
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct. And that's pretty much to the new standards now. It's almost
Yeah.
tough to find these parking lot lights that aren't downward facing because just about every community has the same mindset as
Sure.
nobody wants that light pollution.
Sure.
There were a couple other conditions that I know that were brought up that were still some questions on. One was about wetlands area, do not disturb signage along the fencing. I think that's something that's a bylaw, not necessarily a wetland regulation act. And John, Susan, can tell me if I'm overstepping here, but I don't think there would be a huge thing with hanging a sign or two on the fence, but in perpetuity that you have a 6-foot physical barrier there. There's nobody, we have landscape boulders on one side. We have a 6-foot security fence along the remainder of it. There's really not much opportunity for folks to go in there and access that isolated vegetated wetland. So that was one we were looking to have removed from the conditions.
Well,
that
I think what we said, Gary, in the comment, I have the comment you submitted right in front of me. We don't think this is needed or an appropriate condition. So we wanted to share that thought with with all of you and see what you think and why you think, and see if we can come to a mutual agreement about that.
Vinny, you were looking for two signs, 50 feet apart?
Well, no, it's a longer stretch, but when I talked with Gary after I did the draft, I did say 50 feet apart, but if it's a chain link fence, I was thinking more, I think we talked about it, but to put it where the gates, the openings are. And that could be a compromise, or, I mean, again, there's a 6-foot fence, so that is one of our standard conditions to set the boundary, but
Yep.
if the commission wants to waive that, that's okay with me.
Questions or comments from the commission on that? I mean, Susan, we generally, in Northborough, we like signs. We enjoy having signs up any place we can put them. So that's part of it too. Are we asking something crazy here, or can we find a middle ground or not?
Well, so you want some signs on the fence or at the gate?
Well, Vinny's
Yeah, I think
talking-
that would do. I mean, like you said, you're not going to be climbing over the fence. But at the gates, maybe we just put one sign, strap it to the fence or to the post next to it, and that just lets people know that if they do something in there where it's a do not disturb, then they're doing it knowingly.
Okay.
There are three gates.
Sorry, Gary, go ahead.
Okay.
There are three gates, just so if you were wondering how many signs that would be, there would just be the three.
Mhm. And then along the side where the boulders is there a request for signs there as well?
No.
It was not, no.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's do that. That seems like a reasonable place to end.
And we have the sign, Susan, so.
Oh, you give us the signs? Are you kidding me?
We don't give them to you. No.
Give it?
They're $10,000 each, but 3 of them won't be bad.
Hey, those are low bid signs. We gotta get the low bid on them.
Yeah,
No,
Gotcha.
we have signs. I forget how much they are. They're small money. whatever.
$25 a
Yeah,
piece.
yeah.
That's what we pay $25 to get them made, and that's what we charge.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else, Vinny, from your side?
Nope.
I
So,
think there
Susan-
was just the last condition that there was some concern on the DCAM side about it. We wanted to be able to discuss tonight if possible.
Yeah, so I think based on what Agent McNally had to say, he's recognizing that these are things that, with regard to the construction general permit and the stormwater pollution prevention plan, those are things that we have to do anyways under the regulatory requirements of EPA. So I don't think we have any additional questions. He's acknowledging that this is just standard language and requirements that we have to follow anyways.
Well, Ken, I think you're kind of getting ahead of us. We had asked in writing for at 4A, it asked the way that the draft had been written, it said we have to give the plan to the agent for review and approval before the construction meeting is scheduled. And we asked for a revised condition that would read, a copy of the stormwater pollution prevention plan must be submitted to the agent before the pre-construction meeting is held. So we agree to submitting that to Vinny, but that plan will be, well, it will be prepared by the contractor once we go out to bid and we choose the contractor, but it'll be designed to meet the federal requirements. So I think we're looking to provide it, but not for review and approval. Vinny, does that make sense? Is that acceptable?
Yeah. Well, no, that's what I was looking for, is that it must be submitted and approved before the pre-construction meeting. So you have to submit it and approve it. It gets approved by the EPA. So
Okay, we thought you were asking for it to you.
No,
Okay.
we require that under the
Misread it.
local bylaw, but not when it's just a CGP.
Okay. Okay, so then,
So it just needs to be
now-
done before we do the
Yep.
pre-construction, so that we can talk about
Yeah.
the scope, the sequence, all that stuff that's going to be included in there.
yeah. So, and I think there's a funny thing, right, with the way that when you submit these things to EPA, that you have to do it so many days, I think, before your
14
project.
days. Yep.
I don't think you really get an approval document, do you? It's like if they're silent, you're good to go.
It gets accepted, right?
So this is why I got a little confused with the language when we were trying to, look at it this afternoon. So what you mean by this is EPA can have rejected it. The timeline has to pass.
Right.
Okay, I think we're good with that language then. And then part B of your condition said that we have to give a construction acknowledgement form. We think that comes out of your bylaw.
That's us. That does come out our bylaw, and it's a standard form. I was trying to think of something else, but it was easier just to put it in. It's just a sign off from the owners and the contractors that they have read the requirements in the order, and that's it.
Okay, so I think we can work with that. We can do that. We'll get the form from you.
Yep.
Gary, John Kent, you're good with that, right? And then C and D had to do with the erosion and sedimentation control monitor, who I think is a title that might come out of your regulations. Is that right?
I don't think so. That's I think the more current construction general permit language had that in there. So it's basically having a qualified person, because it says qualified person is all that required, and that's just a title so that we can say, okay, this qualified person is that erosion control monitor, whatever it is.
Right. So we'll have the proper monitors required under the federal program, but you're asking then for us to make sure you're requiring them to inspect weekly and after certain events, which I think we have to do under the federal program. So what you're really looking for is for us to submit electronic reports.
Yes, that's
within
all
a
that
week of
really
such
says.
event.
Yes, is getting an electronic report within a week so that it's not a month later and I haven't been out to the site and I'm unaware of what's going on. It just keeps me up to date. I mean, we did it, I think Gary did it on the project with the food and ag, and it worked out great. He let me know what was going on. They inspected, everything looked good, and I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And I expect that's usually what I get.
Okay. And then that last one is still just that person's going to be authorized to, say, I'm out. We got an issue that needs to be dealt with real time. Okay. I think we are okay with everything then.
Good. Denny, you're okay?
I am.
Any commissioners have questions, comments, concerns? Okay. No public comment. Okay, so Vinny, we can move ahead then here, yeah?
Yes, sir.
We need a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dan. Roll call vote. Dan Clark.
Yes.
Justin Dufresne.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
I vote yes. Hearing is closed. Now we need a motion to issue a order of conditions for 289 Lyman Street with the special conditions as noted. But I don't want to list them all because I can't remember them all, but
right. We had edits from DCAM. They have an edited version.
Yep.
And then we have the 4 that now it's 3, 1, 3, and 4 conditions that are noted on my letter dated today.
I will make that motion.
For a second.
Second.
Second by Dan. Roll call. Dan Clark.
Yes.
Justin Dufresne.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
We are
Excuse
good to go.
Who motioned and seconded that?
I believe that it
I
was
made it.
Todd made it, and I believe that Dan seconded.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, folks, thanks for working with us. It's been a long road here.
Thank you. We appreciate all the good things that have come out of this process, and in particular, Agent Vignali raising the concern about the couple of spots he saw, which we knew there would likely be some spots, but they had not really been visible with the growth. So we really appreciated moving that up and getting those spots cleaned up, I think was good for us, good for the public. And so we really appreciate the diligence and the sort of the partnership working through this. So thank
Great.
you.
Great.
Yes. Thank you very much.
What's the timeline here now for you folks?
Well, I think John Kent, maybe you would speak to that about the time frame when you might be trying to get this out to bid and so forth.
So our current estimate for the timeline is to bid it over the winter, get construction start in the early spring, and have this wrapped up by July, August of 2025.
Good. Good. All right. All right. Very good. Well, thanks, folks. We will see you in the spring.
Excellent.
See you then.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night. Okay. All right, we're going to 329 Crawford Street, continuation for stormwater management and land disturbance. I got a hand up. I've got Vito's hand up. Gonna bring Vito in.
Do we want to Gary and Laura Bartlett want to join in? Just put your hand up or,
They don't have hands up.
okay. I think that's the proponent, the owner.
But if they would like to join, you just put the hands up. We'll do it. Vito, you muted? Nope. Like you don't, but I don't hear anything.
Oh,
Okay. You got it. Nope.
You got it? You're good.
that better?
That's much better.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so you submitted things at 4:59. They'll
Yep.
never get a chance to look at it, Trick.
That's right. So I know it's late. We just wanted, and I know we owe Vinny some backup documentation too on that. We've been a little backed up. I just wanted to get something over to you just so we could have a discussion tonight and kind of just show where we are and what we're gonna go, where we're hopefully going
Okay.
with the design. So let me just share the screen. It's just coming up. So we essentially went through, Vinny sent over his review comments. It's been a while, but we kind of just been working through them. And some of the kind of the main things, sorry, just zooming in, was related to the design of the stormwater management basins along the side of the driveway, down kind of in this side of the driveway where it gets, everything's going down towards the street. So we're trying to create a series of basins as we go down to kind of break up that flow, infiltrate as much as we can. So the initial design had a series of, they were a little creative, I guess, with they were rain gardens, but we essentially just had berms of earth going out into the woods to try to leave the natural woodlands and just trap stormwater behind the berms. With some of the review comments, it was noted that typically there's a soil media that goes in there, and that promotes vegetative growth and infiltration. We were trying to use that natural soil mix because that obviously the vegetation is growing there, and the natural soil structure does promote some infiltration. But technically, through the guidances, it is a soil media that should go in there. So as a to kind of meet those requirements and those guidances through the review, we're going back to a little bit more traditional with more infiltration basin style. So these would now just be vegetated grass surfaces. So that way we can put in the soil media that was requested and also meet the 1 foot of freeboard that the local bylaw requires. Where we had those smaller rain gardens, I think we had 6 inches of freeboard during the 100-year storm, which is more typical of a smaller structure like that. But it was requested to have a foot of freeboard. So we went back to just a little bit more traditional and going with a grassed basin. So it's just going to basically roll down. They're still not very tall. I think the max depth was maybe 3 to 4 feet at most. So it's just kind of roll grass up and down as we go down this driveway to catch all the runoff as it goes off. And then, let's see, we also wanted the abutter had contacted us, and I know that there was some discussion last time with the abutter up at number 355. So we did get their house shown on here, and their well is actually to the kind of north in front of their house up in here. We just wanted to show that, we were over 100 feet with any infiltration basin towards any of their wells, in that their house was actually kind of up gradient and to the side, so it wouldn't get impacted by any of the infiltration basins. I know that was some of their concern that some of this infiltration would migrate toward the house, but actually it's kind of up gradient into the side, so there really wouldn't be any impact to them. And their other concern was related to limit of clearing, and we'll try to pull this back as far as we can, but we're kind of pinched in because we have to clear that to do our stormwater management. So we really don't have too much of a choice, but we did try to leave this kind of buffer to the side of them. And if I can pull this back a little bit, I will, but I think this is pretty much the limit of clearing that we're going to need to get all those basins in series going down. And the only other one, let's see, down at the street entrance. I know there was some kind of, I can zoom in that way. Just down at the entrance of the roadway, just looking at I know there was concerns with the stone wall blocking flow, maybe the existing conditions or in the proposed, but that stone wall is essentially in the center of the site through here. We're coming in where there's an existing break in the wall, and on this end there are stones, but they're flush with the ground. So we're kind of mimicking the existing conditions where some of the flow goes to this side and some goes out this way. And our proposed conditions have an overflow this way, and then there's also some overland flow through there. So we're kind of matching those existing conditions working with that stone wall in the center of the site. I think that's kind of all, just the highlights of where we're kind of going, and I just have to provide all that documentation to Vinny just to back up all that. To make sure everything is proper and correct. So I think that's it, unless there's any questions from the commission or Vinny or even the abutters that may be on.
I got a couple questions here to start there, Vito. The Sudbury Valley trustee access, is that an open issue, or is that just is that a warning? What about
No,
that?
I forgot about that. So we did meet, the owner met with the representative from Sudbury Valley, and they discussed this access, and they've worked out any issues that they may have, and it's basically, let me zoom in a little bit. It's just an access to get to their backland up there, and if they choose to, they could put in it's an access for logging if they want to, or any maintenance that they have to get up there for. So they just worked out how that may look, or any restrictions as far as parking, the driveway, how it's working out. So in the end, they didn't have any further issues that I know of. I'm not sure if he's on the call or not, but they did meet and discuss the project and all the development going on.
Okay, yes, I've got a hand up here, Mr. Shu, I believe it is.
That's the abutter.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's number 355.
I'm bringing him in. He declined. Okay.
Right. So I'm on the Sudbury Valley trustees thing. I thought that was a public access, right? So that anyone from the public can park at the base and walk up their driveway and up in the yard. So
I
that
don't
was my
believe it was
question.
a public access, but
We want to verify that.
if it is, they can park, how they do now, on the side of the road.
Okay.
If Sudbury Valley chooses to make a parking space, they can do that. Right now, there isn't any.
Okay.
And if they did do a logging road or something like that, I assume they'd be back before you guys, because it's all part of the same plan shown on the A&R plan that kind of roped it all together.
Okay.
So for my money, it's for my 2 cents. I mean, it's a private matter between the current owner and SVT. It's not really anything we have jurisdiction over. It's fine to ask and talk about it, but I wouldn't get in the way of anything because of it.
Okay.
Can I talk? Sorry.
Mr. Is it Shu or Zhu? What's the correct?
Zhu. That's my last name is ZHU.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Two questions. I thought that the well is pretty close to the basin. Is there any definition in terms of how close is close? I thought it was pretty close, actually. Is there a particular definition in terms of you define, you say 100 feet? I don't really know. I haven't measured yet, but I feel like 100 feet is pretty close. That's one thing. But do you have any documentation that says that's 100 feet is considered far away enough?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the DEP requirements. So Mass DEP puts it at 100 feet.
That's in one of the handbook. I thought Mass has one of the handbook, 5 handbooks, right? Which one of it? I was looking through it, I couldn't find.
Okay, I'm not sure what page it's on. I think it's in volume 3.
Volume 2, chapter 2, check page 89.
Okay, good.
There we go. Thank you, Vinny.
Thank you.
I think I've written that 100 times in
Wow.
different applications.
Yeah.
Impressive, Vinny.
In terms of the elevation, I thought that's one of your the basin's elevation. Actually, we are about the same elevation. Can you double check on that? Because I look at it, the well actually is at exactly the same elevation. That's the house. So I would assume the well actually would be below where your basin is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the basin, I mean, the well could be, but it's beyond the setback where they feel that it's, would have any impact.
But you said we are higher. You said we are more elevated. But I'm just saying that's not the point. The thing is, our house, where the well is, the elevation actually is lower or exactly the same as your basin floor. Actually, so in that case, my well is below your basin.
Yep, that could be. I was talking about the house. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear enough about that. Yeah.
Right. But I'm talking about the drinking water, right? Where the drinking water is coming from the well, where it would be below. So I would say that that's the potential where it's going to going through.
That's like beyond the setbacks, and that's really what we're held to. Wells are down several hundred feet. So usually they would be, obviously downgrading of every infiltration basin that's in the area. But
what about the basement, right? So the basement of our house is the closest to the basin.
Mhm.
We are concerned about flooding when you pour that much water in that vicinity, right? So you see that box, that's the closest point to your basin is actually our basement.
Mhm. Yeah, and we've also made sure we have that proper setback that DEP establishes from basements to the infiltration basin.
But that's within 100 feet.
I think this actually could be over 100 feet being between there. I think it is 100 feet to your actual.
And DEP allows less than, I think it's 50 feet or 25. So Vito, what's that dark contour line that comes off the corner of their building?
That's at 440.
And so what's the bottom of your basin?
430.
So that answers the question there with which one's higher.
Our house is 430, right?
I think based on the plan, it's showing 440. If that's the elevation in that southwest corner of your house, that's 430, and it may go down to 435. I mean, to 435 at the front if there's a drop, but the bottom of the basin is at 430, so it's 5 feet lower than the area of your house. And then, as you say, the water's going to go and infiltrate down. It's not going to just go straight across. So I wouldn't worry about flooding in the basin, or in the basement.
And all the setbacks are met for the well, Vito, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah, so the size of this basin is really huge, right? So this regulation, is it affected by the volume of water this basin is going to infiltrate?
I'm sorry, I kind of missed some of that.
So it's going to basically pull a lot of water, right, from uphill, from the impervious area of the house. So it's going to be almost like a reservoir infiltration reservoir with large volume of water, you're hoping to get underground.
Right, that's correct.
Yes. So is that a concern, right? So I can see if it's a small basin, it's not a concern. But because it's such a big basin, just intuitively feels dangerous.
When you talk about 25 feet, 25 yard away, or 25 feet away, or 50 feet away, usually that has to do with size, right? It's a smaller size, 25 feet matters. If it's huge, gigantic wood, then it doesn't really matter in that case, right? So it has to be relative to the size, I would say.
No, the regulations keep them all, it's regardless of the size. And basically the size is just due to compliance with the regulations having to infiltrate. The regulations require that we must infiltrate stormwater. So it's something that really has to be done on site.
Okay, and we also talk about mosquito control.
Machine is on. 19 minutes to record.
Are we going to have anything in the plan for that? If it's a rainy summer?
Typically, as long as it's functioning properly, there shouldn't be a mosquito issue.
Actually, in the handbook, there's a mosquito section talk about it. That's handbook number 5.
And you can always include that in some of the O&M if we need to, Vinny, as part of the conditions and stuff like that, just to deal with that.
Right. But you have a drawdown. It's going to drain out empty in, what was it? It was less than 72 hours, but it was closer to 40 or so.
Right.
Would it do that if it's raining?
That's when it stops raining, the basin is empty within, what is it, 1, 2, 3 days?
Yeah,
2 days. 2 days.
So that says, so regulation says 72 hours. You're going to do it 40 hours, which is great, actually, right? But what if it fails? What the ramification would be? Is that something that's the town is going to be responsible for, or I've just complained to the town? Mostly I worry about the mosquito. I welcome the neighbor building. I know the builder has to build a house. Neighbor has to build a house. The infiltration basin has to be built. I'm just saying, what if that failed? That's another concern I had last time, because I said, based on the statistics, 15 to 30% will fail. Extended lifetime is about 10 to 15 years. What if something failed by nature? That's what's the recourse for that?
Right, it would fall under, if the town has any enforcement on it, following the owner to keep up on their maintenance. It's like any project that's done in town that needs ongoing maintenance by the owner, and it'd be their responsibility to keep up with that. It's not like unlike any other project that's built in town.
Any further questions?
Thank you for all the clarification.
Thank you for the clarification. Thank you.
Of course, of course. Vito, Beck, I have 2 more questions here. One is, have you synced up with DPW yet around the review for the driveway?
No, we haven't yet. So hopefully we'll get that done by the time the next meeting. That was one of the.
And the last one I have here is Vinny was looking for a diagram on 317 Crawford on the driveway.
Yeah, we just kind of showed, we can put more detail if he thinks it's one. We just kind of showed where it was located. We could add in the grading, and we could add in all the detail from the previous plan. If that's something that you want to see on there. I just showed the location, but.
Yeah, the location is key. It might be helpful to see what your proposed grading is, and it might help your existing grading on this lot if they actually work together, or like when one goes in, you can finish grading off the other area. I know you don't want to cooperate amongst the lots, but it just seems to make sense if you're both cutting in 6-8 feet, just open the whole hill out.
Yeah, rather than go up and back down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll add the grading on there too, right through this area. Yeah.
Anything else? Vinny, you have any questions?
Not yet. Like I said, I haven't reviewed it yet.
Okay. Any commissioners have comments with what we know?
Nope.
Okay. So we're gonna continue this, Vito.
Yep. Sounds good.
So we need a motion to continue the stormwater and land disturbance permit application for 329 Crawford Street to November 18th.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Justin. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
I vote yes.
All right.
Hey,
Well,
Vito, you still here?
Hmm.
There you are. There you are. I think that your clients are on the phone call here, so they probably heard some of the abutters' concerns here. So maybe any discussions around mosquito management might be a good thing to talk about for next month.
yeah, I think so. That'd be a good idea. Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Uh, 127 Bartlett Street.
Brian Waterman.
Brian Waterman. Got a hand up here. Okay, Brian, I'm bringing you in. Trying to bring you in. Promote to panelist. Here we go. Brian declined to be promoted to a panelist. Same thing happened last time. Hey, Kaylee, you with us? Look at
I
that.
am. How can I help?
A couple times in a row, it said that the person declined to be promoted to panelist, but then they show up.
Okay. Let me take a look at it. Is there somebody you're trying to get in right now, or is it just
Nope,
for future
Brian's
reference?
in. It happened last time, and it
Okay.
happened the first time with Brian. Of course, it might have been a user error with him. He's known for those things, so it could have been.
Could be my
All
piece
right.
of.
If you have trouble again, though, let me know.
Very good, Kaylee. Thank you. Welcome,
you.
Brian.
Hey, good evening, guys. Could be my lousy laptop. I don't know.
Could very well be.
Or I'm just too old for this. Yeah, so we're here tonight for Linda Kim and Eugene at 127 Bartlett Street to replace, do a new septic system in the front of the house, or actually the north side. The way this house is situated off of the driveway actually comes off of Bartlett, even though majority of their frontage is on Jenkins Drive, and there is actually an existing curb cut off of Jenkins to a gravel drive that goes down to the house as well. But they do access the house right now from Bartlett Street. The house was constructed in 1983. The lot is 3.3 acres. I think Greg, you and Vincent visited the site. Stirrup Brook flows to the south through the property, which is the outlet from Bartlett Pond under Bartlett Street. So the existing system now actually is located to the west side of the house, and it has 3 trenches, and those actually split the 2 lot lines. They own the whole property, but it's kind of a weird setup there. But the system's failing. We did soil testing. We have an approved Board of Health septic plan that was approved on August 16th. The new work would be about 160 feet from the brook itself. One of the comments we got in DEP was that, the flood maps do show flood zone on the property. And wondering if we should calculate bordering land subject to flooding, run an engineering calculation. But we responded to them that we're 160 feet at the closest horizontally and 16 to 20 feet in elevation above the mapped bordering land. So we're all set there. And then they did acknowledge that septic repairs are grandfathered under 310 CMR 1058-6C, which is the riverfront regulations. We also received a couple of comments from Vincent about access and the erosion control barrier. Yep, you can see where the hand is right now. There is room between that ledge and that end if they want to come in off the driveway, or they do have access again, which is how we came in for our soil testing, via the gravel drive to the north side of the house. Yep. So you're staying even farther out. So there's several options there. What we mentioned to Vincent is during the pre-construction meeting with the contractor, we should probably discuss those things. And if we need to add a secondary silt fence along the south side of the driveway there, we certainly could. There's a big vegetated buffer to the south that's flat, that's grass, so there's really no opportunity for stuff to get all the way down to the stream there. But we do have an erosion control barrier consistent with staked silt fence with a 9-inch straw wattle right there. So it's relatively flat. We're only over that distance between where the tank is and the top of the septic system is only a change of 4 feet in elevation. So, we're working in this flat area in the front of the house. Instead of, you've got that steep slope beyond it, but we're able to tuck the system in to the left there. So, and they do show, you can see the water line there that Vincent is following with the hand.
Mm-hmm.
There is an existing well off to the right. They would like to either abandon that well, you can see it right there, or maintain that as a irrigation well in the future. But for now, it's a functioning well. It's beyond the 100 feet from the septic system. So, and let's see, we sent the green cards in today, so I think that addresses, the project. Like I said, the portion of the septic in the riverfront is grandfathered. We're 160 feet at the closest point to the stream, and we do have erosion control barriers in place. So I'll turn it over to you guys for any questions or comments.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Vinny,
Yes, sir.
any questions you have?
Nope,
Concerns?
I'm all set with it.
Pretty straightforward, right?
It is.
Any questions from the commission? Comments?
Looks good to me.
Yeah, all set on my end.
Good. All right. So we could, no special conditions, Vinny. I'm not sure about that second erosion control fence being required or not, but I yield to you on that.
Yeah, no, we were going to talk about that during the pre-construction. It is pretty flat.
It is pretty flat.
It should be okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a detail that, we could work out if we see something or the contractor wants to adjust something, we could add it. So.
Yeah. Motion to close the hearing on 127 Bartlett Street.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dan. Roll call. Dan Clark.
Yes.
Jess Dufresne.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Hearing is closed. Notion order of conditions for 127 Bartlett Street with standard T's and C's, Vinny, yeah?
Yes. Yep. I don't think we're going to need any 26 or 20 wetland offset signs. They're just, it's so far away.
Yeah.
It's down at the bottom of the hill away from the driveway.
I agree.
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
Move to issue an order of conditions.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Justin. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Thank you very much.
All set, Brian. Thank you.
And sorry to hear about Tom. I didn't know that. So let's
Yeah.
send our condolences. Very sorry to
well,
hear that.
Certainly, he's a good man. Good man. So,
Very, very good.
thank
All
you,
right, well,
Brian.
thank you, gentlemen. Good night.
Good night. Okay, 7D Pondview Way, an RDA.
No, 325 Church Street.
Or 325 Church Street.
Just don't want to forget them.
I have discretion to move the agenda around.
You do. You are in charge. I'm sorry
I'm not
to
gonna do
step on
that.
your toes.
That's a premature check mark.
That's my
RDA,
raise.
325 Church failed septic system. We have Dan Hazen
Yes.
coming in as panelist. Looks good. Welcome, Dan.
Good evening. How's everyone doing?
Not bad for Monday. Not bad. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Vinny, it's been a minute. How you doing?
It's been quite a while. Yeah.
I know. All right.
325 Church Street.
Do you need me to share my screen?
If you can, do you have it or?
I do.
Sure.
Okay.
And this is an RDA versus NOI, Vinny, right? So it must be to the very edge of the jurisdictional area.
Just barely in, yes.
Can everyone see this? Is
Very small.
Zoom into the plan.
that better?
One
Keep
more,
going.
please. Good for me. Here we go.
Okay. Okay, so this is 325 Church Street. There's currently a failed septic cesspool located behind the house. The house was built in 1950. This lot has looks like it's been filled in over the years just from construction. The entire lot's primarily lawn. There are some mature white pine or white spruce on the lot. The owners are in the process of selling, so that's what triggered the Title V inspection. We are proposing to install a new Title V compliant Presby system with a septic tank and a pump chamber pumping up to the debarks. To the south of the property, there's a wetland on mostly Town of Northborough's property. Cuts across a corner of the applicant's property. There is some floodplain. This is located off the GIS, the town's GIS. There's also a BBW across the street. So I believe these were walked with Vinny and Mark at one point. I'm not sure when, but so the work that is being proposed within the 100-foot buffer is installing this septic tank, which is about 95 feet away from the wetland to maintain separation from Title V required 10-foot separation to a foundation. And the corner of this pump chamber, same thing, to keep the 10-foot separation. And then a small corner of grading or breakout from the septic system itself. We are proposing erosion control in the form of a 9-inch compost sock right along the edge here. And I believe one of these is for one of the white pines is gonna have to be cut down in this area within the 100-foot buffer, just for grading. So, are there any questions on this?
To the front, is the elevation, is the elevation of the new system? What is that one? Can't see.
So it's, this contour line right here is 326.
Okay.
Kind of wanders through the entire property. It's pretty flat out there.
Yeah.
And this is a 326 contour right along here. And then for cover over the system, there's a 328 contour that runs over the top.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a little bit higher. There will be a small amount of mounding.
Okay, good. Any questions, Vinny, from you?
Nope. I'm all set. We adjusted the sediment control barrier so that they have access to get in there to do the work, and I think it's good.
Any questions from the commission? Concerns?
Nope.
Pretty straightforward again. Okay, then we need to close the hearing. Well, we're talking an RDA here, so we're looking for a negative determination, correct? With
That is correct.
standard conditions, nothing special at all.
Yes, the only condition would be to have a pre-construction meeting,
Yep,
just to meet
okay.
with the contractor to check the sediment control barrier before the work actually starts.
Okay. Need a motion to close the hearing on 325 Church.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Justin. Roll call. Dan Clark.
Yes.
Justin Dufresne.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
I vote yes. Now we need a vote to issue a negative determination for 325 Church Street.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Justin. Roll call. Dan Clark.
Yes.
Justin Dufresne.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
I vote yes. All right.
All right. Thank you very much.
Well,
All right.
thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Nice job,
All
Dan.
right.
You've done this before.
Once or twice. Thanks. Have a great night.
Okay, you
Good night.
too.
Take care.
All right. Another RDA for 7D Pondview Way. Let's see. Got a Carrie Weber. Is that the person?
It is.
Carrie, I'm going to bring you in as a panelist. How about a John Johnson? Is that another person there?
He is interested in the position on the Conservation Commission.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Carrie's should be coming in here soon.
Everything working for you okay, Mr. Chair?
Yes, I thank you very much for checking, Kaylee. Carrie's joined us.
Yes, hi.
Hi, welcome.
Yeah, this is my
Okay.
first time as a panelist, so I had to make sure I, unchecked a bunch of things.
Oh, there's no prizes. There's no prizes being given out here. So that's it. Okay, so what's going on, Vinny?
Carrie, do you have the plan? Do you want to show, or do you want me to dig it out?
No, I didn't realize I was supposed to show the plan.
Let me see
if
what I
you
think I
have it.
have it. Northgate, what have I got?
No, that's not me.
No, it's underneath. All right, here we are.
There you go.
All right, so you want me to do the talking and just correct me when I'm wrong?
I guess so. Fine. Or
Well,
I can present whatever you.
Do you want to do it? Yeah, why don't you present?
Sure.
This
Sure,
is,
sure.
this one is kind of zoomed in a bunch, but this is Pondview Way. So go to
Right.
it, Carrie.
Okay.
And I'll present and you correct me, Vinny, if I'm wrong. Okay? How about
Yeah.
that?
Sounds good.
Okay, so what that red dot is actually showing is a large half-dead pine tree that's near the water there. And what this project proposal is, it's to take that tree down and its neighbor. The tree right next to it is down to a half a tree. The other half of that tree fell on one of our Pondview Way units last fall in a strong windstorm. Caused $30,000 approximately worth of damage. Luckily, there were no injuries, but that was really just by happenstance and luck. The problem is that with the open water just south of those trees, when there are some strong storms that come through, they really impact those trees very heavily. What happened with that other tree is there was just an extremely strong gust that basically threw the majority of that other tree on the unit. Okay, there you go. Yep.
Right.
You can
Gary,
see
what
there's
direction is that wind coming from when that comes in across the pond? Is
it's
that coming?
approximately southwest.
Okay, all right.
And yeah, and you can see the distance of that tree to the building. That's basically how far that gust threw the majority of that other tree. So the concern is that with the increasing winds that we've been seeing, I mean, I've lived here for 13 years, and I don't think I've ever seen such strong winds, but they're just getting worse. So the concern is that the other one may be impacted similarly and could fall on another unit.
Okay.
Just to add in here, we've got about a 20-foot stump that they topped it. Well, actually, the top snapped off and landed on the building. And then they left the standing stump about 20 feet. And then there's this existing tree that was next to it. This is looking from 90 degrees off along the shoreline, looking due west pretty much. The existing tree that stands, and then the stump that was left after the damage the last time. I think I have another picture, but I don't know why. Oh, and this is the area of the wetland down at the base that has been kind of manicured.
So which are these the two trees here on the right, the two trunks?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Yes, this is looking right along, because this is dogwood, Hoosier dogwood, the wetland species, and then you got other wetland species growing up to right about here. So the wetland line is right at the trees pretty much.
Okay.
And it's right on the water.
And Carrie, what would you like to do?
Well, I'm proposing that we take that other tree down and the half tree because it's unsightly. So, you know, to prevent something like this from happening in the future.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I would never have guessed that other tree could come down like that, but it did.
Yeah. Well, pines can do that. So. Okay. Well, many times, normally when we have trees that are causing an issue down near the wetland, we leave the stumps in, and we like to have some tree left for habitat purposes for animals and birds and so forth. We usually look at like a 12 to 15 foot stump as being the kind of the standard on that side. So under that approach, before I go any further, let's see what the commission thinks. So. Comments, questions from the commission here?
What's the distance from the base of those trees to the building?
It's about 40 feet.
Yeah.
And you got a stump of 22 or so. And if we...
How big is the other tree? Twice that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could, that tree probably has 45, 50. This one.
Yeah, there's more that's showing on that.
Yeah, there's more on it. So topping it is a possibility. Cutting it down to the base, in my view, is not necessary and not beneficial for the wetlands and wildlife, but it's the commission's decision.
I mean, just in terms of, it's unsightly if there's stumps there, but, but I understand about the wetland considerations. I mean, both trees are in full view of probably half of the condominium units.
Well, I guess I'll express my opinion. The 20-foot section is in no danger of causing any damage because it's shorter than the distance to the house. So I don't think you should touch that at all. I certainly understand that doesn't, but it's all in the beholder. I don't think it looks unattractive, but I have a different perspective. So ideally, I would just cut the other tree to the same height, but eliminate the risk of damage. But if you want to, cut it down, I agree with Greg. Leave section standing, so it's not cut flush with the ground.
Yeah, I'm with Dan on this.
Okay. Justin, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. I mean, I think here, being near the lake, the habitat that these could have with the birds and everything there, I mean, to me, it would make sense to, make sure that they're not a hazard to anyone for sure, but leave that so that it could protect that habitat that could be there. It's just so close, and then normally we wouldn't even have grass kind of going that close to the wetland edge too. So it'd be kind of within, more of a forested area along there too. But
Okay. I would also think that if we wanted to trim off some of the branches, those lower branches, that should be allowed too. That's my thought. What do you think about that? Is that going too far? Or is that reasonable?
I think so. I mean, I don't know, as well, but I feel like if you take the top off of it, eventually some of those branches are going to die and kind of fall into the lake and everything too. So I feel like, yeah, maybe taking some of those down. And I do feel like you can kind of see in that tree that's still standing with the one that went away, just doesn't have the growth on one side of it or anything. It was probably protected a lot by the other one. So
Yeah,
it does
agreed.
kind of make sense to
Agreed.
kind of treat them both the same, it seems like.
The other tree, in fact, was healthier.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I had that last winter in my yard too, probably the healthiest pine that I feel like we had snapped off kind of halfway up like that one too.
Yeah. I mean, the remaining tree has, it's a little hard to see in this picture, but it has a number of dead branches. So potentially the dead branches could be trimmed off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You might get lucky. You might get an owl or two in there. That'd be kind of cool. You get a little habitat.
Sounds like we have Diane back.
Okay. Vinny, any questions on your side?
No, sounds like we're talking about topping it at about the same height as the existing one and potentially taking a few limbs off, but leaving a stump.
I mean, if they wanted to come down another foot or so on the existing one just to kind of get that gnarly piece squared off, I'm fine with that. But no, keep it at whatever that is, 18 feet or 19 feet. What do you think it is? 20, 18, 19?
It's somewhere around 20 is all I
Yeah.
know. I mean, that's why I was thinking if we have that existing tree there, we just know to go about the same height on this one.
Yep.
But definitely shorter than the distance to the building.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
We're
Yeah,
talking
by a
about
lot.
20 feet, 20, 22 feet. So
Yeah, it might be closer to 25 and maybe it's only 30 to the deck, but yeah. Okay, but that could be measured.
Yep.
And also trim some of those other limbs off too, if that's desired. So
I would just request that you're explicit to your tree guide of what you want, because we've run into it more than once that we give these instructions and then come to find out they're cut flush with the ground. So please make sure your tree guy is clear.
We make that a condition that the tree person
yeah, we can make
contact
that
me
condition. That's a good
directly.
point. Yes, yes. Have you picked out a tree person yet, Carrie? Do you know?
No, no.
Okay. Okay.
What's another word for tree person, Dan?
Arborist.
Mhm.
Arborist, right?
Okay. So we are looking to issue we'll close the hearing first. Before we close the hearing, any last questions you have, Carrie?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
Need a motion to close the hearing on 7D Pondview Way.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Justin. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Hearing's closed. Now we're looking to issue a negative determination of applicability for 7D Pondview Way with a caveat that the tree person chosen by Carrie, the arborist, the name provided by Vinny. Vinny, you should probably have a conversation with the arborist. How's that? We can make that a condition, Carrie.
The arborist will contact the
once you decide who you
Concom.
want to use.
Right. And we'll top it at the same height as the standing
Correct.
stump.
Correct. And Carrie, Vinny might be a good resource because we have some arborists that we've had good luck with and others we've had not so good luck with. So.
Right.
Okay.
But none are cheap.
Okay, we need a motion for the negative determination for
I'll make that motion.
7D Pondview Way. Motion made by Todd. Roll call. Second. Seconded by Dan. Roll call. Dan Clark.
Yes.
Justin Dufresne.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. You're all set, Carrie.
Okay.
Keep me in the loop.
I'll have that out probably by the end of the week.
Okay.
Very
All
good.
right. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Okay. Request to consider accepting a gift of open space, 0 Northgate Road, the estate of Alice Staplefield. Vinny, you want to set this up?
Okay. You wanted to jump to that? Okay.
What am I missing? I'm in order here.
Oh, are you? Oh, I might have my other. Okay, sorry. I'm going off the
You wait till next month.
pre-meeting.
You're going to see chaos next month on the agenda. That's it.
Sorry. All right. I'm sorry. So the gift. So the intro to that is that I think we talked about it. Oh no. So there's a property on Northgate Road.
Yep. If you're going down Davis Street, if you come down Route 20, take a left on Davis Street like you're heading to Route 135. You come down and Northgate Road's on your left. Right there at the corner of Northgate Road and Davis is a piece of land. That's the land in question. It's a very small piece. It's all swampy back there. There you go.
Did we talk about this last time, right?
We did talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the property owner wants to give it to the town, doesn't want to pay the taxes on it, and is willing to gift it to the town. It's 1/4 of an acre, abuts town-owned property. And the town planning director is considering or in the process of requesting to have title and acquisition paperwork completed by town council. So she just wanted to have some confirmation from the commission that we would accept it, because it's no sense in spending a few $1,000s to do the acquisition if the commission would not accept it as conservation land. Is that a summary, Greg?
Perfect.
Is there a reason why we're accepting it as conservation land as opposed to general town purposes?
Conservation land, it's allowed to not have to go to town meeting. If we were to accept it as a town parcel, it would have to get accepted at town meeting.
And again, the only difference is if we accept it as conservation land, they're never using it for anything else ever again.
Yes. When you look at it, it's narrow right along the street. There's not much use. So that's a terrible scale. I'm sorry, but that distance is 200 feet.
Yeah, I figure if it had been worth anything, somebody would have done something with it. If you needed it to widen the road or whatever, I don't care. As long as somebody's thought about it, that's all I care.
Greater minds than mine did.
So Vinny, we're looking to not do a formal vote, or we're looking to just give Laurie a supportive note? What's the deal here?
Yeah, just to confirm that the commission is either in support of accepting it as a conservation area or not.
Because doesn't it go to the select board first and then us?
It needs to go and get town council to do the work, to do the acquisition, and that costs money. So if she'd like to find out in advance whether we just know right off the top that we don't want it, and then she won't waste the money to start the process. So we just need to know that the commission is in support of acquiring this property. It's a gift.
So a question, I don't know if anyone knows the answer. It'd be, I mean, a quarter, what is it, a quarter acre?
Yep.
I mean, a quarter acre really has no conservation value. I mean, not that I'm saying we shouldn't take it, but is there any consideration for the adjacent town land, making that conservation land as well?
I heard that comment. You might have raised that at the last meeting, but that's a different process, and I didn't have time to look into it. But that would make sense because that's a big swamp.
Yeah, well, it'd certainly make this parcel more attractive if you bundled them and it's all conservation land.
Right, but I think the conservation land transfer from the town. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't know if that would need town meeting action. So I can ask Laurie.
We say we take it. I mean, I don't see why we wouldn't, but.
Yeah, so Dan says yes. Todd, do you think we should move ahead if the opportunity comes up?
Yep.
Justin?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So there's your answer. The commission is open to accepting the gift.
Good. Right. Thank you.
Request for the adaptive bicycle trail on Barefoot Road. I think you're up, Benny, because there was nobody else out there except
Nobody's out there?
No. Nope.
Okay. Well, there's a Trails Committee meetings. That's where Brian Belfour, he would be doing the presentation, but I'm going to try to do it. Okay. So this is a piece of property, well, you're very familiar with by the zoom in. Senior Center, the ADA trail that's just been put in around the pond at the Senior Center. The parking lot comes out, and coming out of there, the Trails Committee would like to create or expand a climbing trail for adaptive bicycle use. So they're proposing or requesting your consideration to put in these switchbacks in an area of the Edmund Hill Conservation Land to connect to this 2021 section that was added. It brings you up to the summit. And then they're proposing to have another section of switchbacks over here to come down the opposite side. and come out to, I think it's Rice Ave on this end. So what's being proposed is these switchbacks along the steep sections of the Summit Trail. So that's really what they're looking for, is to create these switchbacks, and they're not going to be cutting any hardwoods, and I'm pretty sure they're not going to be cutting anything bigger than 3 inches. They're trying to make it work around the existing vegetation that's there. They're just going to be doing some work with some rakes and moving some dirt with shovels. There's going to be no machinery brought in. They're just going to clear and blow an area so that it's clear of leaves, and it's clearly a trail to climb using some revised standards for adaptive bicycle users. So it kind of works in nicely with the little white line over here is the new paved section of the trail, the ADA trail that goes around the parking lot at the senior center. And they could go down into this area, go up along here, and make their way up into that area. They're also proposing a new reroute for Goldfinch, but that's got to get a little more detail put together. But it's just the idea that they're going to be doing a little work there. And I think there's a little wetland crossing that's proposed over in that area there. And this is the cell tower, I think, if I'm correct.
So are they looking just for the climbing trail extension, or that plus the Goldfinch reroute?
They're asking for your consideration of all of it, but the priority right now is the proposed climbing trail extension there and on the south end.
Okay. And it says here that there are no trees larger than 3 inches to be cut. Will they haul those out? Or do they leave them there to provide habitat?
They leave them there. They cut them and put them off to the side.
Are they going to get rid of the existing trail?
No, they're going to maintain or keep. Well, they're actually trying to reduce the use of that trail just because it's so steep and direct. It's subject to erosion. So they're proposing to do this to get a little bypass for like the bikers, and then do some maintenance work on that Summit Trail that's eroded out.
That doesn't sit super well with me. I mean, why are we doing more? I mean, they're close together. They're going to the same place. They're going to get interconnected. It's going to just create a mess.
Well, because the adaptive climbing trail is what's shown. It has certain standards for the curve radiuses for those switchbacks. And
no, I'm all for that. It's just keeping the other one then.
Oh, you want to consider getting rid of the other one?
Yeah.
I can ask that. That's not what's proposed, but.
Well, I mean, I'm the only one making that point, but that's what it kind of, I rather assumed when I saw the plan that that's what was going to be happening here.
Okay.
Is the existing trail shown here?
In white, yes.
White.
It's straight up the hill. They added this. I think this is boulder sliding rock or something like that. One of the trails. I don't remember the names, but they've got those.
I mean, when you look at the south side, I mean, that's just going to be, look at, you're adding those switchbacks, but you still got the trail going right through the middle.
That trail is going to no longer be there. They're going to go with the switchbacks. It was the one in the north that I thought they were keeping both.
Similar. So go ahead, Lee.
No, these are, so in the south side, these will be reroutes of the trail. But I think I'm pretty sure he told me that they would keep the summit because people like to just shoot up to the summit. And he was going to add this one over here. I didn't ask him about abandoning that. So I will do that.
But I had a similar reaction to Todd. It seems I always try to avoid essentially parallel trails that go to the same spot. It seems redundant. But the purple one's already there, right?
Yes, that was put in 2021 is what it says.
Is it marked? I hike there all the time. Is it a marked trail?
I haven't hiked there, so I don't know.
Okay. I've walked up
I
that.
assume that it is, but I don't know for sure.
All right. I guess I must have missed it the dozens of times I walked up that hill. Yeah, I don't know. It seems kind of redundant to get to the same spot. I mean, it's not that much longer, I'm guessing, to walk on a switchback as opposed to walking straight up the hill. But if you're in that much of a hurry, I don't know if you should be out walking the. It's like you're in a hurry to get much sure where you're going, top of the hill.
Yep.
Well, Vinny, we got a couple of commissioners to have. That's enough for me to say we should go back to back to Brian.
Yep. And I think, I mean, what he's looking for feedback, so I think that's good. Any other thoughts?
Just the last one, and maybe this is very different, but I know, didn't we deal with a lot of issues with, bicycles and things like that at Pisgah, and kind of people building things and doing different things? It was causing a lot of erosion and things like that. I guess for you guys that hike a little bit more, maybe see some of these things more, do you think that these would cause similar erosion issues or problems with the ground out there? I just remember us dealing with that quite a bit up at Pisgah.
It's funny. I've hiked all these trails, and I don't see it addressed on this map. But where I've seen the most erosion is I don't even know how to describe it. It's sort of whatever. I've seen erosion on some of these trails, but it's not where they're proposing any switchbacks. So I don't know if they're proposing some trail upgrades or some trail maintenance, but I've seen streams flowing down the trail in the springtime. So, but it's nothing to do with bikes. It's just the way that the trail is situated on the hillside and the elevation. And you just, once water starts flowing and then picks up momentum and
yeah. If you've got it kind of pinned in there, right, it's going to create gullies and things like that, I'm sure.
Yep.
Vinny, what's an adaptive bicycle look like? Is that a three-wheeler?
Yes. And I have.
I clicked on the link. Yeah, it looks like a three-wheeler.
Okay, I didn't pull up a screen of that. I can pull it out if you want me to.
I have it up. You want me to?
Oh yeah, if you could share your screen. Good.
Yeah, let me see.
I've got a hand up from the audience. Oh, okay. That's a pretty serious bike. Huh.
So do these trails?
There's somebody on a mountain bike behind it. I mean, I just feel like, I don't know. I remember our issues at Pisgah. I don't know if this is similar or this could be, the same or what, but probably worth discussing with Brian, I feel like.
Sure. Let me, then John Johnson has his hand up. I'm going to bring John in.
Okay.
Sure, it helps. I mean, having the switchbacks versus something so steep could certainly help, people with disabilities or, people that still want to climb it and get up there. I feel like it's a better option for them. But I don't know.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Hey, nice to meet all of you. Question, are there any signs over by the senior center that discourages hybrid bikes? So hybrid or electric bikes are not used on these trails, do you know? Dan, like you, I abut this property off of Whitney Street. So the back of my property is, as Vinny knows, abuts this land. So just first concerned, are electric bikes allowed over here on Edmund Hill? And will this promote that?
Yes, there are no signs out there to say it. And when I had a question about that about maybe a year ago, and there was a question, it's an e-bike. I checked the bylaw, the regulations, or I guess it's a policy, the conservation's policy. It says no motorized vehicles.
Okay.
And electric is motorized. It's an electric motor. So I'm not sure how that gets interpreted, because when I checked with the Trails Committee, they didn't feel the impacts from an electric, one of those small electric bikes, is what they were anticipating or concerned with when they said they didn't want motorized bikes. They were more considering like the dirt bikes and the gas-powered, louder engines.
Okay.
So that is yet to be discussed, I think.
Yeah. And Dan, just to let you know, I use that white trail along next to the switchbacks for cross-country skiing downhill. So it's part of one of the few trails when you're coming from the senior center back towards my area on Whitney Street, that it's a good downhill as you're headed, I'll call it south. So we'd hate to see that trail get discontinued, but I understand about the switchbacks. And I look at some of those bikes, the wheelbase on those bikes are pretty wide.
Yeah.
I'd be concerned about erosion immensely because just the wheelbase width on those tires and the erosion that would occur from those bikes. Okay, thank you for bringing me in.
Interesting. No worries, John. Thank you. I'm gonna send you back now.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, how do I do that? Oh, I think Kay Lee jumped in there. Okay, so when you get some feedback to bring back to Brian.
Can I just add to that too, real quick? Is it
Sure.
the proposed relocation of the Goldfinch, is that for the adaptive use as well? Or are we doing that for some other reason?
I think that might be adaptive reuse, but it could also just be improvement because that's a pretty rough trail. And Dan, have you walked the Goldfinch much?
Yeah, I walk it all the time. It's very rocky. So I don't know what the goal is, just to make it I mean, it's walkable. It's just, you're in New England, so there's rocks everywhere. But I was surprised when I saw that, the re-rock, because there's no obstructions or wetlands or anything that I'm aware of. So he'd have to describe what he's got in mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, you got enough there?
I do.
I'm gonna write continuation of my notes here. All right. That covers, I think, most of the four here. We got a couple COCs. You ready to move on, Vinny?
Yes.
If you need time, go ahead. I don't want to.
No, I'm following along on a different agenda than what you have. I had adjusted the one. So you're in charge. We're doing COCs.
I don't see any, well, okay. COCs, let's get rid of these two. We have got 11 and 13 Mill Street, a septic repair.
Yes, that was a septic system repair from 2022. The work has been done. I could share pictures of it if you wish.
I take your word for it. Does anybody else want to see pictures? No,
Nope, I'm good.
No, Todd is adamant he doesn't want to see pictures of the septic repair. So fine. Okay. How about 363 Whitney Street?
363 Whitney, same situation. That is, I'm going to stop sharing. I don't know how to go halfway in. 363 Whitney is the same thing, only that was from 15 years ago. The septic system was installed. Someone bought it, moved in. Now they're trying to sell, and they found that they had an order of conditions on the property. I went out and checked. The system looks fine. Everything's stable, but there was dumping in the back area near the wetlands, and I asked them to clean it up before we issued this COC, and they have gone out and cleaned it all up.
Great, great. So if no questions from the commission, we need a motion to issue certificates of compliance for 11 and 13 Mill Street and 363 Whitney Street.
So
11 and 13 is a duplex, just so you know, it's not 3, it's actually just 2.
11 and 13 and 363.
I'll move it anyway.
Okay, it's moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Justin. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Matt Helwig,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay. Violations. Well, we're going to revisit the senior center here in a second, but let's start at the top. 128 Davis Street, restoration complete.
Yes, the 128 Davis Street was property owner who went out and cleared some area in the photo that's up. This was, I think, back in July. They cleared, moved a whole lot of material, dumped a bunch of brush off to the right side of the photo, and and the wetlands are just beyond this tree line. So they cleared that all out. He hired a bad contractor, very apologetic. He came to the commission. Since then, he's hired someone and they cleaned it all up. We're working with DCR because this is on DCR property, and it's all cleaned up. Now it's been hydroseeded and we're waiting for the grass to grow. This is the same area as this location here. And you can pull back to the yard. This is the property line. You can kind of see the stakes. DCR on this side, property owner on that side. So the prior property owner was mowing and doing all this stuff. So the people that this new property owner hired went out and moved more stuff around and now has had to restore it. So it's now all hydroseeded. We're waiting for the grass to grow there. And this is looking back the other way from in the yard. The flagging, the stakes are at the property line and then back into the DCR property.
Okay.
So I think it's in good shape. And I haven't gotten any complaints from DCR.
Can you go back to the previous one with the house? Previous picture. That one there isn't, if we look to past the erosion of the fence, isn't that where the parking lot's going to be for the trail?
Oh, yes, it's going to be up in here.
DCR parking lot.
DCR, yes. We are, I did receive it. So at our next meeting, we're going to have a hearing for the removal of hazardous material in the area behind us in this picture.
Yep.
So along the dike that runs along Southwest Cutoff, they're proposing to clean out hazardous material that was dumped in there. They had done work a couple of years ago to pull out the surface material, and they found that there was stuff underground. So they're going to have to pull out some wetland soils that have been impacted and some soils within the buffer zone. They're going to go down about 12 to 18 inches in some areas and clean up that. And that's being proposed under a notice of intent that I just received, I think yesterday or the day last week. But this is going to be
I'm sorry, go ahead, Danny.
To go back to what you were saying, this is where they're going to have, I think, a construction entrance up in this area here, as well as one down on Route 20 to do the work associated with the hazardous material cleanup. And then in the future, I'm hoping they're going to be, when they do the work for the dam repairs, they have to regrade and upgrade the dam itself. And then once that work is done, I'm hoping to get a trail kind of through this area from the construction staging area up on Davis that comes down and through this area. And then it will go kind of along to the left here by the wetlands, down along to the left there, and kind of through here to where the dam is. And then that'll run all the way, I hope, to Wegmans and possibly eventually tie into the Shrewsbury Trail system. Brian Belfour is meeting and talking with the Shrewsbury Trails folks as well.
Okay.
So this is kind of all in the works, but a ways away.
Good. All right. So Davis Street's in good shape. 105 Lawrence Street, Motel 6.
Oh, okay. That one I don't have any photos of, but basically the Motel 6 on Route 9 his approval to repair or replace their septic system, and where they're putting it is up at 105 Lawrence Street. And that's on the top of a hill, but it's outside the wetland jurisdiction, outside of the 100-foot off wetlands. But it's a big system, and they're doing work down at the Motel 6, so they've triggered the land disturbance permit. So they're going to be applying at the next meeting for a land disturbance permit for that work.
Okay, all right. I'm going to skip down here to 17 Coolidge Circle. Trees cut at 3 feet and left in wetland instead of leaving 15-foot stumps and removing the trees.
Okay, that one I don't have anything on, but that was one that we voted to cut the trees again, and Dan referred to it. So they cut the trees down. 4 of them were cut 3 feet off the ground instead of 12 or 15 feet. I don't know who the arborist was, but it was required to be a certain way, and it's not that way. I wasn't sure. I was looking for your thoughts.
Make them take them out.
Take the trees that are the down trees?
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of intolerable. Isn't this the second violation for the same site?
No, this is not the same. This is a different site. Well, in the past, they might have done something in the past. I haven't looked at that. There was a recent time when they cut the tree all the way down, but that was an error by the estimator, not putting it on the work slip. And that owner, an hour after they cut him down, she was all upset, and she contacted me and was worried, and responded, I thought, appropriately, to really being sad and sorry that she didn't follow the rules. This one, there was no contact. I actually had to go out and check on it. And then I found that I had to walk out in the back to find that the trees were not craned out.
So this is different than the one I was thinking about, where it was like in the front, and then the woman came before us. This is not that.
Correct.
Close, isn't it?
Yeah.
No matter.
We don't have a lot of leverage here when I'm looking at it. I mean, the job is done. My thought was Vinny should find out who the contractor was, who the tree company was, and not give that name to the lady at 7D Pondview Drive, but maybe write him a very stern letter, talking about, he didn't follow the rules and whatever, and blah, 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 and please correct your internal procedures or something like that. A strong letter.
Yeah, now that I know that it's not the same property, I'm fine with that.
So, and I'll have them contact me before they do any work in town.
Not a bad idea. That's a good idea. That's their penance.
That'll teach them.
Well, as far as I could tell, the arborist knew what the restrictions were, but did it anyway. Is that true, Vinny? Is that how you interpret that? That he understood he was supposed to leave them at the right height, and he said, I'm not doing that.
Well, I believe that's the case. What I was told was that they thought the trees were unsafe. But I mean, they had a crane, so they could have taken off a few of the limbs, but they said it was unsafe. Or the daughter of the owners, when I asked her about it, said that they were aware that it was not done according to the plan, but they said it was a safety issue. But I don't know, when you're taking down these trees, that they could have taken off smaller limbs and done the work that way, as opposed to trying to take it all in one chunk if they were afraid that it was going to crack.
Yeah, I'm inclined just to start saying no. Sorry, you can't cut the trees down. I mean, if this is the end result of all of our efforts to try and be accommodating, that we get ignored or outright dismissed, it certainly doesn't want to make me do it again.
And we never have any leverage for it. That's the tough thing. It's like, once the tree's gone, what do you do at that point? I mean, I guess if it's under an order or something, we could have them plant, more trees before we issue a COC, or, something to that. I mean, that could be kind of our only way around it. Or maybe, Dan, if we find that they are a hazard or something like that, maybe we have them plant smaller trees somewhere else on the property or something to, I don't know,
Well,
They
did
just
they
make
come
up
before
for
us
it.
for a determination of applicability?
Yes, they did a
Because then
determination.
we could just condition it on that if you don't follow the rules, then you are planting more trees.
Yeah. Yeah.
I should put that condition in for the
There you go.
7D pond.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. We could come up with, I mean, if that's what we want to have when these people are clearing them, maybe it's something pretty heavy too, you know, like it could be a 5-to-1 replacement or something like that. I don't know, but
Tell
something
them
that puts a little meat in it.
Tell them to put it in the contract with the arborist so that they know that if they blow it, they're putting in the trees.
Yeah.
Okay, but in terms of what we have in front of us, there's 17 Coolidge, not much, right?
There's not, yeah, it's
No. A nasty letter.
Nasty
Yeah,
letter.
and I mean, I would assume we also send something to the property owner as well. I mean, they're
yes,
responsible.
Sure. All right, so you're going to follow up on that one, Vinny, with
Yep.
property owner
And the arborist.
Get the name. Okay, 19 Barefoot Road, ADA Trail Senior Center. We have pictures here, Vinny, right?
Think so.
Took a walk around. If you remember the trail, do you remember the peninsula, the little peninsula stuck out there into the pond? I believe that we had that left natural. You could walk out there, but we had no work going on out there. Walked down there with my wife a few weeks ago and found that we had something quite different.
Oh, that was a good intro, but I was not in time. I don't have the pictures. Let me.
In the final plan, Greg, they had nothing out there.
I've asked Vinny that. He said no, there was nothing out there.
No, the work was to just replace the path with a paved path up to the area where the I don't even have it in here. Shoot.
I took some pictures. I think it's in the
They're in the meeting pre-meeting memo.
Right. It's coming up.
Anyway, it was clear cut down to the pond. A concrete slab was put in down at the end. And it's been hydroseeded since then. The grass is coming in.
Oh, you've seen the grass coming in?
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a strange ad. I mean, are they thinking of putting a bench there or what?
There is a bench there. Speaking of hiking, I was hiking there this morning and intentionally walked. I don't usually walk this way around the pond, but I did. So there's now a bench there bolted to the concrete.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually another, some kind of seating some kind of seating structure.
Okay.
There's actually another, I didn't get my measuring tape out, but there's actually another concrete pad as you're walking down to this peninsula with another bench on it.
Oh,
right.
yes.
That one was
the corner
shown.
there. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was shown. The bench on that corner was shown, but this was just supposed to be this path going to a picnic table. But there is I don't know. I'm not sure what the plan was here, but
there's a structure there now.
It just had the erosion barrier going around the end and tying into this, actually over here. Actually, there used to be erosion right along here, the sediment control barrier. It used to go around and come across here and come back. But they lopped all this off.
And we were leaving some natural growth down at the end too.
Yes, there were shrubs. There were 5-foot high shrubs.
Yeah.
They might grow back next year, but not all of them.
I wonder where that direction would come. I mean, I feel like once DPW has a bid or something, they don't typically add things to it unless, somebody's directing them that way. I wonder where this ad was coming from.
Well, I have not confirmed just because it's difficult to work with the DPW as a town agency. I just have to work with them. So I have not really asked the question, but there's I talked to Fred and he thought that it might have been something that his crew did because I have not heard anything from the contractor in months about this. I think the contractor is off the job and he's done. I think this was done by Northborough DPW, but I
And Vinny,
am
the
not sure.
contractor, we met the contractor a couple times and he seemed like any
Yeah.
deviation of the plan, he was going to come to you with that.
Yes, and he did in the past, but that's why I believe this was not the contractor.
Well, in my mind, that's even more unsettling. That I think I brought this up when we reviewed this project, that if the town doesn't even hold itself to its own standards, then how can we expect the public to follow the same rules?
I was waiting for the Dan, I told you so moment.
Well,
It's arrived. It's deserved.
You're right. That's right.
Yeah, right.
So, but where we stood on this was Greg was going to draft a letter to the DPW and ask and have an inquiry and find out what happened. What was the intent? Why was the plan not followed, type of thing? And does anyone have any other suggestions for an approach?
I mean, does it make sense to go, do we have a town manager? Does it make sense to go to that person and have it come from the top?
We could.
Well,
I think she
could,
just
although-
started today.
I don't want to put Vinny in a tough position here. One option too would be that Laurie could send it. I could send a note to Laurie.
Yeah.
I
Well-
could send the note to Laurie and Scott, copy Vinny. I'm just a citizen here asking the question.
Right. Well, I mean, it's my situation. It's a conservation issue. I can do it. It just is a difficult step to take. And I can draft a letter. He's not going to fire me. Laurie might, but he can't. He's not my supervisor. So I can draft something and try to get the ball rolling here and see where it goes with the town administrator.
I mean, we're going to have to make them restore it. I mean,
Something.
I don't see a plan B based on what our job is around here.
Right. But it's going to cost money to do that. And it's costing us money.
We've given the lecture to everybody else. We can give it to them.
Yeah. I think really for the COC, right? They need to list any deviations to the plan or anything that changed, and when they prepare that COC request too, we're gonna have to have a conversation around it. So it's better to just get out in front of it now, see what we can do.
But I mean, the certificate of compliance, it's really no teeth because the property's never turning over, so it's not even going to matter.
It's town,
Right.
and I don't know that it's recorded at the Registry of Deeds because it doesn't matter. Normally, I don't go out and do inspections, but we don't want to charge the town every dollar we can. So I saved $105 for the registry fee because it wouldn't matter anyway. So it's you try to help the town out, and then you don't get the cooperation in the end. It's pretty simple.
Yep.
Well, Ben, I don't want to put you in a situation. I think Laurie should carry the baton here.
All right.
I mean, DPW is a peer of hers. They both work for the same person.
Okay. Yeah, that works out fine. And I can draft something, and unless you've got something already started.
I got a draft I can throw to you. I can throw at you.
Just throw something and I can work on it.
Okay.
That's good. I appreciate you being supportive, everyone. That's helpful.
Okay.
But that is good looking wattles out there though.
They're very good
Great.
looking wall. That grass is
Great
growing
wall.
pretty well, Dan, too, isn't it? That grass was it fully grown in when you were there?
Yeah, there's grass now. I mean, it's short, but it's
It is growing. Good.
It is growing. Yes. Yes.
They're
Well, that was
great
a-
wattles, Vinny, but I'd say that there's, looking at the
Useless.
left-hand side of the picture, there's soil that's beyond the wattles that
Yeah. Yeah. That's
should have to
that's
go
the
around it.
idea. And they're just sitting on they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Oh
They're,
boy.
Well, I
but they
walked by,
tried. It was
there was a
something.
kid fishing.
Oh yeah, there's the worm bucket on the
There
end
was a
there.
kid fishing there. They're always going to catch like a tire in a shoe. So. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've got we've got Brian Belfer on standby here. He's joined us. I haven't brought him in yet because I want to work through the agenda first. Informal discussions. You want to talk about Aspet River Dam's removal?
Oh yeah, I can do that one quick. I've talked to Heather at Oars, and she has done a presentation for the work to remove the dams on the Assabet River. There was some prioritization work done. And where it is. I think that's it. All right. So here we have the dams. You can't see anything. Okay, so the dams that have been decided to be the top priorities, according to an assessment that was done 15 years ago, was Old Mill Pond Dam, the AKA Aluminum City Dam.
Mm-hmm.
And this is looking from kind of Route 20 off to the east. That's an existing dam that's privately owned. And then the other one that is of interest is the Allen Street Dam. And that is the north side of Allen Street, going out in that area. So they're talking about renovating or removing those dams. It's a long process, but they want to start it. And what they're looking at is at the Aluminum City Dam, you've got this looking upstream. This is what it existing looks like. This is an artist's rendition of what they could do if they remove the dam. They do a little riprap. I'm sure there's going to be a little bit more riprap around here, but they make it just a flowing stream to allow fish passage and habitat improvements. So that looks nice. The idea looks good, but it's a long process.
Mm-hmm.
The Allen Street Dam is a similar one. It's a little tougher to see. But you've got the current condition where it's all flooded. And then the proposed condition will be a lot of more wetland area, floodplain area, and it flows under Allen Street. Because this was, I think, a 6-foot dam. The aqueduct bridge trestle goes over that. You'll lose the flooding and pond that's in the back here. So that will all be gone, and it'll just run the stream channel itself along the side. So that's the renditions of what could be done at these areas. But right now, we went through and is that implementation? No, that's the wrong one. So we just went through and talked about what could be done, and there is money available at the state. The first step is to get the owners on board to agree that they want to do something. And then the town can work with the owners to try to make this happen, because it's very expensive and very time consuming.
Okay, the process is moving forward slowly but surely.
Yes. So when the master plan committee says what's going on, you guys have the update.
Great. Aqueduct Bridge over the Aspet River Trail evaluation.
Okay, that one is just an update. We sent plans over to the MWRA. They reviewed them, asked for stamps on the plan and review by Mass Historical, and we've completed that. The Stantec, the consultant for the town, has completed that work, and they resubmitted it to the state last week, and I'm waiting to hear from them.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll get that approved and we'll be able to do the evaluation of the aqueduct structure. And then we decide from there whether we can have an active trail across that and what's needed to do that.
Good. Good. Correspondence. Like the clerk to replace the opening due to Diane Gould's resignation. Now, Justin's been doing a fine job here. However, he's the vice chair, which he shouldn't have both positions, correct?
Correct. We can't have him controlling everything on the
That'd be a
commission.
lot. Yeah, that would be a lot.
That'd be a lot.
Commitment would be strenuous.
That's right. But I still have control over the agenda. That's the power right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't mess around with the agenda, that's for sure.
So it boils down to Todd, Dan, or Kelly, or a new person, which we will have one or two here the next month or so, hopefully.
Remind me what the clerk actually does.
You read the official notice before the meeting, after I finish my preamble.
And I put your name at the bottom of that legal ads.
That's it? That's all, that's the extent of.
That's it.
That's
Sometimes
it.
if we only have continuations, there's no reading. Any volunteers? They're both thinking about it.
I mean, I'm happy to do it since it needs
You
to
need
be
it,
done.
you want an addition to your resume?
Yeah.
I'm with Todd. If he wants it, he seems to want it, so I'm going to let him take it. But I'm happy to step up too. If
we need a vote on this one.
Oh, we do.
Well,
Oh.
there's
I don't know how we're going to do that because Todd usually makes all the motions. So I don't know how we're going to get this going.
Well, there's also a third alternative here, which is Kelly's not here.
There you go. Well, does it need to be filled immediately, or should we wait for our new members and maybe one of them wants to?
Does it need to be? No. It's one of those
No.
situations where in the legal ads, I put my name on the legal ads this month, but it's supposed to be the clerk. So it's
Tell the next person that we hire that they're going to be the clerk, and that's what they have to do.
Well,
Comes with that paycheck, right?
Yeah.
We hire them.
I just think maybe we should just offer it to everybody. Maybe Kelly wants to do it. I don't know.
Maybe. Okay, it's fine. We can kick it out for a month or so. It's fine. Not a problem.
Boy, all right.
Not a problem. Okay, continuation on the correspondence. All right, we have Brian Belfer here. I'm going to bring him in to talk about Edmund Hill.
Oh, good.
Any moment now. Brian.
Good evening.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys being a little out of order so that I could chat real brief tonight.
There you go. There you go. You must have heard about our discussion earlier.
I caught the tail end of the concrete in the wetlands at the ADA
No,
trail.
not that one.
Oh, no, I didn't. I'm sorry. I was at Trails Committee meeting, so.
This was a discussion we had around, you wanted some you were looking for some feedback around your request for the adaptive bicycle trail.
Correct. So the general idea is that we already have an existing trail network at Edmund Hill. People already ride mountain bikes up there. And one of the initiatives that I've been working on both in Northborough and as part of the Mountain Bike Association is adaptive trails. Massachusetts is super way behind in any mileage for adaptive mountain biking. And we have a really good opportunity locally to make a couple. I did upload a bunch of guidelines and stuff to the Dropbox. I don't know if anyone really had a chance to review any of that stuff, but basically, I'm trying to summarize real quickly. You got to make stuff that isn't way off camber. You have to make stuff that doesn't have super narrow rock crossings or rock narrow pinch points. And it just needs to be a little bit wider than, say, your typical single track. And it generally just more resembles a slightly wider hiking trail. Up at Edmund Hill, to do this work, I did just a very brief sketch. It's really minimal impact on the trails that are up there. What it does do is it allows for some switchbacks where currently we have these horrible straight up the fall line eroded summit trails that are horrible. And it allows for just a little bit of we would need just a little bit of an extension of an existing climbing trail. And that's the basic idea. And so again, I'm sorry to rush through it. I wasn't sure if anyone read any of the stuff beforehand. Okay.
We had quite a bit of discussion on it. I think one of the questions was, Todd, I don't want to take it out of your mouth, words out of your mouth, but was why not just get rid of some of the existing trails and go with the proposed extensions only?
Oh, I would love to be able to close the summit trail. I mean, nothing would make me happier than to just keep people off of that completely. And we could try to close it, but we have people who are pretty aggressively just want to hike to the top of the hill. And we could close a trail, we could block it off. People will still walk around it if all they want to do is get up to the top. We could certainly put up signage that says trail closed, please use the new climbing trail. We could take it off the map. I would be game for doing all of that. In the end, the public will wind up treading straight up the hill because for whatever reason, people like to do that. Even though I find it to be a unappealing way to get across there. But yes, we could definitely close as much as we could as a trails committee, close off some of the terrible trail.
Okay. Todd, does that cover your statement, or you had to add to that?
No, that was it. But also the other issue was over on the Goldfinch route, why we were doing that.
There's a segment of the Goldfinch Trail that is like completely boulder strewn. I meant to take some pictures of it. It's an unpleasant hiking trail. It's currently impossible to ride a regular mountain bike on, and it's completely not suitable for any kind of adaptive work. That section of that trail has been terrible for, I don't know, I mean, all of the 22 years I've lived in this town. So what I'm trying to figure out is if there's a suitable way to reroute that trail or segments of that trail slightly uphill to get out of that boulder field. In which case we would absolutely just close the old trail and effectively just move the trail uphill a little bit. And the goal would be so that we could create a loop, right? So that one could start at the senior center, go up the climbing trail, dip back down, have a nice loop around, the Proctor Trail and the other trails that are sort of in the flat area, if you will, and then be able to take the Goldfinch Trail back to the senior center. Ideally, that would make a really nice loop.
Let's see what else was another question we had was, Justin, you had a question on erosion.
Yeah, I guess and I think, some of it kind of stems from a few years ago, maybe when we were talking a lot about Pisgah and a lot of the mountain bike activity that kept happening up there, causing erosion and different things. But I feel like that was maybe different. I feel like I was trying to remember what our main issues were. I think it was a lot of people building things, maybe building jumps or building different things up there in the woods. Maybe it was the bigger issue, but I couldn't remember, and I just wasn't sure. Erosions with mountain bikes, or if people are walking down the trails, or mountain bikes an issue for people, as they might be walking, kind of things like that. And I just, Brian, I don't go out here very often at these trails, so I don't know kind of what those issues could be, or if they're maybe just non-issues too.
So yeah, two parts of that. Anywhere where we have multi-use trails in town, you certainly have user groups interacting with each other. For the most part, those interactions are just fine. And the vast majority of people share the trails. The hikers hang out with the dog walkers. No one gets too upset till there's an off-leash dog biting their ankles. Mountain bikes are going up and down. There's always an occasional interaction that's less than good, partially because bikes just tend to move faster. But that tends to be in the minority of the occasions. They're unfortunately just what you hear about. The person who was surprised by a mountain biker tends to be the most vocal. All the people who happily have a mountain biker slow down and pedal past them, they never talk about that. Edmund Hill's not actually a very popular. Well, let me take that back. Mount Pisgah is an extremely popular mountain bike destination. It's a known ride area. It's on a lot of people's videos and lists, and it attracts a lot of riders. Edmund Hill is not that. It's not big enough to do that. The elevation is not enough to do that. And it's not ever going to see the sort of traffic that you see at a place like Pisgah. Erosion wise, all of the new trails, they're all switchbacked and they're all done with water management so that you're not getting compaction and erosion and stuff washing down the hill. So they're all actually much more sustainable than some of the existing straight up the fall line trails.
Good. Dan, anything you want to add?
No, I think that answers all the. I had similar questions anyway, so
okay.
All seems fine to me.
All right.
And mostly, like, I wanted to make sure that everybody like knew that I wanted to work on this and knew that some of this was sort of already being worked on. I know Edmund Hills has a history of like stuff going awry up there, and you know, with the disc golf and whatever else. And you know, I'm trying to do something that is public facing and make sure that people are aware of, you know, of what's going on. So when they see someone out there with a rake or a shovel, they're not like, oh my God, you're wrecking the place.
Yeah.
And then as far as, you know, further stuff, obviously, if like I just wanted to present this as for awareness that this is something that I really want to do. And then whatever more detailed stuff, we'll flag it out and we'll figure out exactly where the trails are going to go. And I'm going to go walk Goldfinch and make sure that I can actually reroute it somewhere, make sure it's going to work. And then I can also start looking at, there's a small handful of bridges, Proctor Trail and some of the other low-lying areas, most of which are due up for replacement anyway. We would just need to make those bridges just a little bit wider so that the adaptive cycles can actually fit across them. We've been trending in town, mostly at my insistence, where we've previously had a proliferation of 2-foot wide by 12-foot bridge segments, which are all old and deteriorated and terrible. And they're sitting on the ground. Pretty much everything we make now is elevated. We've moved to using helical piles. We're trying to get up out of the wetlands or up out of the water. Things are wider. All the bridges are wider and more stable and ramped appropriately. So all the new stuff is actually less ground contact than the old stuff. And it's safer for people to walk across.
Brian, the adaptive bicycles, are they powered at all, or that's all human power?
A good number of them are electric assist for the ones who don't have enough strength to be fully hand cranked.
Okay. Good. All right.
There was one other question that was raised that I had in my notes was the idea of e-bikes. E-bikes and assisted.
Yeah.
How do those kind of match into the policies for the trails? Are they allowed? No motors? What's the story?
Directed to me?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
So does the Trails Committee, I think the Trails Committee supports it. I just want to try to get everybody on the same page.
So class 1 e-bikes, which is a pedal assist, no throttle, they're speed limited, it's the fastest growing segment in the mountain bike world. From a distance, you can't even distinguish a class 1 pedal assist bike from a regular mountain bike. Those are generally widely accepted for trail use everywhere. I believe Dan could tell me, but I think DCR is now okay with e-bikes on some number of their trails as long as they're class 1. We're certainly excluding anything throttle, that would be equivalent to a motocross bike.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Brian, you got some feedback.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Super. All right, we are good. Brian, we can drop you for now. You can go and have dinner or whatever you're going to do.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks for joining. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
All right. That concludes our information here. We have the next meeting for the 18th of November. Anybody not going to be around that we know of? Review, Kelly be back. We do have a couple of candidates, so we're trying to get the interview committee together to actually do it. So I sent a note today, Vinny. I heard back from Diane Wackel too.
You did, yes.
So she said, when Angie's come back, she'll work it. So another week, but
Right, Angie's away this week, right?
yeah. So, what do we, anything you know there's going to be, DCR is coming in front of us with the
Yes, for the
polluted
hazmat
soil?
cleanup.
Yep.
Yep, hazmat cleanup, and then there was one more that I said. Oh, the land disturbance permit for the Motel 6.
Right.
Try to get some, get a nice hotel or something down there in place once they get a septic system. That's been the holdback.
And 329 Crawford.
That's continued, yes.
Right. Okay, not too bad.
Yeah, you guys were very productive. It's good.
All right. Anybody have anything before we leave? No? Everything's good? All right, we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll let somebody else do that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
I vote yes. Vinny, thanks to you. Thank you, Kaylee, for your help. I know you jumped in there tonight a few times. I appreciate it.
Anytime, you're welcome.
All right,
Okay.
have a good night.
All
Good night,
right,
folks.
everyone.
Take care,
See ya.
everyone.